The villages of this country are older than the pyramids of Egypt. These people outlived Rome and the Vikings. Scotland is a country where clans challenged kings, monks transformed the faith of a continent, and factories built ships for half the world. But how did they get here? Today we'll explore their history. On the 1st of May, 1707, the Acts of Union joined the kingdoms of Scotland and England into Great Britain, weaving Scotland's fierce identity into a wider British tale. Yet Scotland's past stretches far deeper, back to ages of ice and stone, to standing circles older than pharaohs, to sea raiders, warrior clans, scholars, and inventors, each era leaving marks that still guide the present. Scotland lies on the northern edge of the British Isles, bordered by England to the south, the North Sea to the east, the Irish Sea to the southwest, and the Atlantic Ocean to the west. Its regions differ sharply: the southern uplands of rolling farms and hills, the busy central lowlands with Edinburgh and Glasgow, and the highlands and islands, a world of mountains, glens, sea lochs, and scattered isles. Long ago, ice sheets carved these shapes. As the ice retreated, rivers cut stone, forests returned, and life crept back. Around 9,600 years before the birth of Christ, Mesolithic hunter-gatherers arrived. They moved with the seasons, fished lochs and rivers, stalked deer, and lived in shelters of wood and skins. As the climate warmed, people settled more and learned to farm and herd, entering the Neolithic age. They built in stone. Skara Brae on Orkney, older than the pyramids of Egypt, shows houses with beds, shelves, hearths, and drains. Great standing stones and circles rose, still mysterious in purpose, but clear in ambition. By about 2,000 years before the birth of Christ, bronze tools spread. Communities grew, trade widened, and new routes tied Scotland to neighbors near and far. By the 3rd century of the Common Era, a people the Romans called the Picts, the Painted Ones, likely for body art and carved symbols, held much of the north and east. They farmed, herded, carved stones with intricate signs, and fought well. Rome, meanwhile, pressed north. The governor Agricola advanced in the late 1st century, built forts and supply lines, and tried to split rival tribes. The locals struck from hills, forests, and glens, then vanished. In the year 83, Romans met a large Caledonian force at Mons Graupius. Roman tactics won the field, but they could not tame the whole country. Rome turned to containment. Emperor Hadrian raised his wall in the year 122, and later, Emperor Antoninus tried another turf wall in the year 142. Raids, ambushes, and the high price of garrisons forced Rome back to Hadrian's line. Beyond it, Picts and their neighbors endured. As Rome faded, 4 main groups shaped the land: Picts in the east and north, Britons in the southwest, Anglian settlers pushing from the southeast, and a new force in the west, the Scots, Gaelic-speaking people crossing from Northern Ireland. From the kingdom of Dalriata, they sailed to Argyll and the Inner Hebrides, bringing songs, stories, and strong sea links. In the year 563, St. Columba landed on Iona, founding a monastery that became a light of faith and learning. He met kings, preached, and helped spread Christianity. A distinct Celtic Christianity took root abbots, often more central than bishops, and some customs different from Rome, but the faith offered new ways to bind warring peoples. Viking raids tore at coasts, isles, and monasteries from the late 8th century onward. Norse fleets struck swift and hard, then settled in Orkney, Shetland, and the Hebrides, blending with Gaelic culture in many places. Amid this storm, a king of both Pictish and Gaelic blood, Kenneth MacAlpin, seized a chance after Pictish leadership shattered. Around the year 843, he united Picts, and Scots under one crown, the Kingdom of Alba, the seat of Scotland. Unity took time. Kings leaned on shared Christianity and Gaelic culture, made marriage alliances, and fought Norse lords who still ruled seas and isles. By the mid-13th century, Scotland's King Alexander III sought to bring the Western Isles under Scottish rule. In the year 1263, Norway's King Håkon sailed with a great fleet. Storms scattered his ships. A sharp fight near Largs favored the Scots. Håkon died that winter, and in the year 1266, the Treaty of Perth granted the Hebrides and the Isle of Man to Scotland. Norse power in the west waned. Crisis struck when Alexander III died in the year 1286. His heir, little Margaret the Maid of Norway, died en route to Scotland. Rival nobles, John Balliol and Robert Bruce among them, sought the crown. England's King Edward I was asked to arbitrate. He demanded overlordship and chose Balliol in the year 1292, then humiliated him. When Scotland resisted, Edward invaded, beat the Scots at Dunbar, and dragged off the Stone of Destiny. Popular resistance surged. William Wallace led a bold revolt, and, in the year 1297 at Stirling Bridge, used a narrow crossing to wreck a larger English force. The next year, at Falkirk, Edward crushed the Scots. Wallace was later captured and executed, but the cause did not die. In the year 1306, Robert the Bruce killed his rival John Comyn and was crowned king. Early defeats drove him to the wilds, where he rebuilt and learned. In the year 1314, at Bannockburn near Stirling, Bruce's smaller army used tight spear formations, marshy ground, and careful timing to rout a far larger English host. Over the following years, he retook castles and pressed for recognition. The Declaration of Arbroath in the year 1320 declared Scotland's freedom, vowing it would never be surrendered. Pressure grew on England and the Pope. In the year 1328, the Treaty of Edinburgh-Northampton recognized Scotland's independence and Robert as king. He died the next year, but the ideal of a free realm endured. After turns of succession, Robert's descendant Robert II became the first Stuart king in the year 1372. Under Stuart rule, Scotland saw both turmoil and a flowering of learning and art. Universities such as St. Andrews, founded in the early 15th century, became centers of study. Poets wrote at court. Kings like James I composed verse. Yet feuds and English pressure never fully faded. In the year 1542, Mary became queen as an infant. Raised in France and briefly queen there, she returned to a Scotland transformed by the Protestant Reformation under voices like John Knox. Mary, a Catholic, tried a careful course, but scandal and faction toppled her marriage to Henry Darnley, the murder of David Rizzio, Darnley's own violent death, and her swift union with the Earl of Bothwell. Rebels captured her. She abdicated for her baby son James VI and fled to England. Queen Elizabeth held her nearly 2 decades. After plots and suspicion, Mary was executed in the year 1587, her tragedy turning to legend. When Elizabeth died without an heir in the year 1603, Mary's son James VI of Scotland also became James I of England. One king wore 2 crowns, though the kingdoms remained legally separate. James dreamed of deeper unity, pressed border peace, and sponsored the English Bible that bears his name. Arguments over faith and royal power simmered on. His son, Charles I, tried to force bishops and a new prayer book on Presbyterian Scotland. In the year 1637, backlash burst. The National Covenant bound many to defend their church. The bishops' wars followed. Scots beat English forces, and a wider conflict swept the Isles. In England, Parliament prevailed and executed Charles I in the year 1649. Scots proclaimed Charles II, but Oliver Cromwell's army invaded, crushed the Scots at Dunbar and at Worcester, and folded Scotland into an English-run commonwealth. Fields were ruined, towns battered, and many Scots imprisoned or sold overseas. After Cromwell's death, the monarchy returned, and Scotland regained separate status, but it was bruised and poor. Late in the 17th century, failed harvests and famine hit hard. The Darien schemed Scotland's bid to found a trading colony on the Isthmus of Panama collapsed, costing fortunes and lives. England, worried by succession after Queen Anne lost all her children, pushed a legal union. Many Scots raged against it. English gold and promises of trade and debt relief swayed enough nobles. In the years 1706 and 1707, the treaty passed both parliaments. Scotland sent a limited number of members to the new Parliament at Westminster. The Church of Scotland kept its Presbyterian order. Crowds in Edinburgh and Glasgow shouted that their country was bought and sold, yet the Union opened markets and tied Scotland to a growing empire. Jacobite supporters of the exiled Stuart line rose more than once. Early moves failed. In the year 1745, Charles Edward Stuart, Bonnie Prince Charlie, landed in the Highlands, rallied clans, struck fast, and won at Prestonpans in minutes. The march into England faltered. In April of the year 1746, on Culloden Moor, a tired, hungry Jacobite army faced the king's forces under the Duke of Cumberland and was crushed in less than an hour. Harsh laws fell on the Highlands. Clan gatherings were banned, tartan and weapons restricted, and Gaelic pushed down. The prince escaped in disguise and became a romantic symbol, but the Stuart cause ended. Out of loss came light. In the 18th century, Scottish thinkers reshaped the modern world. David Hume asked how we know what we know, and argued that sympathy grounds morals. Adam Smith explained the division of labor, free trade, and the invisible hand, earning the title Father of Modern Economics. Joseph Black identified carbon dioxide. James Hutton revealed deep geological time. Edinburgh surgeons advanced medicine. Edinburgh's new town rose in elegant stone, and poets like Robert Burns voiced the heart of field and hearth. Universities drew students from across Europe. Coal and iron drove the Industrial Revolution. Mines and furnaces lit the night. On the River Clyde, shipyards launched iron and steel giants that carried people and goods worldwide, turning Glasgow into the second city of the empire, while Edinburgh thrived as the Athens of the North. Paisley's looms wove patterns known everywhere, but factory life was hard long hours, danger, crowded housing. In the Highlands, landlords cleared people from ancestral lands to make room for sheep, driving families from homes to bleak coastal plots or ships bound for Canada and the United States. The clearances left deep wounds in language, music, and memory. In the 20th century's two world wars, Scots served in great numbers and at great cost. Regiments like the Black Watch fought bravely. Many never returned. Shipyards and steelworks became the arsenal of democracy. German bombers struck Clydebank in 1941 with terrible loss. After the wars, as ships, coal, and steel declined, unemployment rose and many left. Yet Scotland adapted. Science, engineering, education, and new industries kept the country moving. By the late 20th century, many Scots wanted a stronger say in their own affairs. Devolution became the goal, shifting some powers from London to Edinburgh. After earlier attempts, a successful vote created a new Scottish Parliament in the year 1999. the first in more than 2 centuries, with control over health, education, and other key areas. National pride found a new voice. In the year 2014, a vote on independence was close. A little more than half chose to remain in the United Kingdom. A little less than half chose independence. The question remains alive. From stone villages older than pharaohs to scholars who reshaped economics and philosophy. From clan banners to shipyard sparks. From declarations of freedom to debates in a modern chamber. Scotland's thread runs through resilience. It is craft and courage, argument and adaptation. Whatever tomorrow brings, more devolution, another vote, or a fresh chapter inside the Union, Scotland's voice, made over long centuries, will continue to be heard.